Hey there, everybody. Nice to see you again. I hope you're blessed with great light wherever you are. It's September, and that means it's fire season in Oregon. There's a 60,000 acre forest fire burning about 15 miles away from where I'm making this video. So, very interesting. So, last month, as you may know, I bought a few Sonys to give them a shot again, and I've really been enjoying using them. But I picked up a Sony A7R4, and naturally that means that a Sony A7R5 is right around the corner, I'm sure. And there's been some rumors. A big rumor was supposedly leaked back in May, and I'd like to go over a little bit of that. And recently we had another rumor that said that the Sony A7R5 will be released to the world, in October or so. So I did a little digging, and it seems some of the specs are kind of interesting. So let's talk about it. The leaked specs that came out in May, honestly, I could have just taken my A7 IV and taken a hard look at it and thrown in some wild conjecture and some wild guesses and come up with about the same thing. You know, an educated guess is not so far from supposedly what these leaks are. It's not hard to envision what Sony's going to do with the A7R5, but the leaked specs seem to be specs, so maybe they're worth talking about it. So all the information I'm about to convey is very speculative, but probably pretty close to the reality of what's coming, ironically. The leaked specs said 61 megapixels back in May, with a 2 times greater speed increase on the output of the sensor. Recently, a rumor said 90 plus megapixels. So, you know, the reality is going to be somewhere under 100 megapixels, but, you know, between 60 and 100. So personally, 61 megapixels is fine for me, though the A7R4 is a bit leisurely in writing to cards. So a 2 times data transfer increase would be most welcome. We seem to be getting a new Bion's XR processor, which makes total sense. My brief experience shooting the A7 IV alongside the A7R4 just shows how leisurely the A7R4 goes about its business. When you turn the A7R4 off and then back on again, for example, don't be in a hurry. It takes a few noticeable seconds to boot up. The A7 IV turns on so quickly there is nothing to notice. Everything on the A7 IV is speedy in comparison, and the A7 V needs to be up to speed as well, so to speak. So a faster processor is a given. Along with that, I would expect the better menu systems, touchscreen facility for everything like the A7 IV has, as well as the depth of menus choices that the A7 IV has. The selections for creative style, for example, include clarity and highlights and shadows, not just contrast, saturation, and sharpness only. So that's a big improvement if you use the creative styles. I kind of do for my JPEGs, but I shoot RAW plus JPEG. It's just nice to have a preview of what your RAWs could look like, kind of a deal. So yeah. The leaked specs also say that we're going to get these things: high sensitivity, low noise, wide dynamic range, uncompressed RAW, lossless and compressed RAW. Not sure why that would be included in the specifications. The Sony cameras are known for those things. I mean, lossless compressed RAW is a new thing. We're probably going to see what they attempted to put into the A7 IV, the last failed firmware update, which is the small RAW and medium RAW settings. We don't have those yet, but they're coming as soon as, you know, that's not a rumor. I mean, they tried to implement that, but there was a problem with going, what was it, firmware 1.10. So the A7 IV should be getting those things when they get that firmware squared away. Now, if the A7 IV has it, I'm pretty sure the A7R5 is going to be coming with that out of the box. As far as high sensitivity, low noise, wide dynamic range, uncompressed RAW, and lossless compressed RAW, I mean, you know, the high sensitivity, low noise, wide dynamic range, those are things Sony's are known for. So the A7R4 has those in spades. The other camera companies are trying to catch up. And I assume what they're saying is that they're going to be improved on the A7R5, assuming that these rumors are accurate. And so, hey, better is always better, but it's not like the A7R4 has any problems with those things. So that's what I'm talking about. Great and nice to see the improvements, but the A7R4 is already there. 10 frames per second continuous shooting. That's probably in lossless compressed RAW. 759 AF points on 92% of the sensor, almost full coverage. Human, animal, and bird left, right, eye selectable tracking. Awesome. The AF improvements are always nice, but again, the A7R4 is already super good, though the A7 IV is a tad better with more choices. Evidently, Canon has finally caught up to Sony's AF's abilities in the past few years, which is nice, which is pushing Sony to improve what is already really great AF, almost magic. So, and especially in video. Video seems to be where things are really going wild in terms of rumors. 10-bit 422 internal, of course. Like I mentioned before, the 9.6K oversampled 8K 24, 25, 30 frames per second. Interesting. 8K 30 frames per second. Okay. 4K says 24, 25, 30, 50, 60, 100, and 120. Great. 4K 120 would be awesome. 4K 60 frames per second would be awesome. The only question in everyone's mind, I'm sure, is there a crop? Is it the full sensor readout, or is there a crop in those faster frame rate, slow motion modes? And like there is, unfortunately, in the A7 IV. The A7 IV does 4K 60, but there's a crop, and that's yeah, it's preferable. I mean, it's usable, but it's preferable. Hey, it's really good for 4K 60, but the crop makes things just kind of complicated. Yeah. So 4K 120 will be awesome, but the rumors don't speak as to whether there will be a crop or not. Let's hope there isn't. Again, we have the focus breathing correction like the A7 IV has. That's nice. And rumor has it that we're getting the goofy skin waxy mode from the ZV-1. Yeah, I guess that's if you break out into some zombie rash from getting the experimental government pharmaceuticals over the past few years and need to look human again. Seriously, the skin smoothing feature in the ZV-1, it looks like crap. Best to just turn it off and move on. That's what I did with the ZV-1. I didn't do it quick enough. There's a few videos on my YouTube channel that there's a little bit of footage where I had that on. And honestly, it looks kind of weird, but yeah, it's off now and it'll stay off. Okay, so as far as hardware is concerned, we're looking at 9.44 million dot OLED EVF. That should be beautiful. 2.36 million dot 3-inch tilting, not articulated touch LCD. Let's hope it's a three-way tilt finally. Nikon and Sony need the three-way tilt mechanism like Fuji uses on the X-T3. The horizontal only tilt is very limiting. I'm fine with the three-way tilt on a somewhat more stills-oriented camera. I really like it for my stills cameras. But the video specs here are starting to blur the lines between, what's a stills-oriented camera, what's a video-oriented camera, and what's a hybrid camera. So the A7R4 is a stills-oriented camera for sure. The A7 IV is definitely a hybrid. And that articulated screen on the A7 IV is a must. It's very useful, particularly for the solo content creator. The horizontal tilt screen of the Nikon Z6 II, which is an exceptional video camera, really lets that camera's usefulness down for solo content creation, and that would be for what I would want to use it for. Honestly, I think the Sony A7 IV is the better camera. It should be. It came out later than the Z6 II. But, the fully articulated screen and the 33 megapixels and the excellent AF and video, face tracking, eye tracking. Yeah, the A7 IV is a really spectacular camera. Quite honestly, two A7 IVs and I could pretty much be done with what I'm doing. The only reason I have the A7R IV is it's nice to have a higher megapixel camera. So, yeah. Okay, the rumors also say, and this is just common sense, that the thermal architecture has been improved to provide 5 times better heat dissipation. Yeah, and at 8K from oversampled 9.6K, it better be able to handle the heat. My A7 IV the other day, I was out and it shut off a few times, but it was 100 degrees out, and that's Fahrenheit, and I had the heat shut off setting set to standard. It was shooting 4K 24 with IBIS off. I changed the heat setting to high and I didn't have any more issues. So it was kind of user error, I guess, but it was 100 degrees out. So the rumors also say that the A7 IV will have better dust resistance, and I think that means that they are implementing the A7 IV's closing shutter when changing lenses feature, which all cameras should have, and really gives you peace of mind when you're changing lenses, particularly out on the beach and things like that. It's the A7 V is supposed to have a full magnesium alloy body, of course, and really cool dual CF Express Type A's, which the Type A card slots means that you can also use your SD cards. And most people probably will until they find that their SD cards are too slow for whatever they're particularly doing. And then they have an upgrade path really easy just by buying the A cards. What's really cool about that is you've got the upgrade path. You can still use your SD cards and you don't have to buy the CF Express Type B cards or something else. You only have, like the Nikons, they have one slot for the CF Express Type Bs and one slot for SDs, and that's kind of the worst of both worlds because you only have one card slot for one card type. I don't know. That's kind of a weird implementation. I know it's a lot of cameras do that, but that's kind of bizarre. I think Sony really makes it more compatible, gives you a lot more flexibility and compatibility. The Express Type A cards are cool. They're fast and they're compatible with SD cards. So really cool. The last thing I'll mention that was mentioned in the rumors is that it's going to have the micro HDMI port, which I guess is unfortunate. It works, but it's not industrial strength for the super video pros. A full-size HDMI port would probably be a lot better. It's a lot more functional. It's a lot more sturdy and can handle more abuse. As these cameras get more and more blurring the lines between video and photo, yeah, if they really should be implementing the full-size HDMI out. So, okay, I guess that Sony is gunning for the Canon R5 with this release and will probably compete with that camera with the A7 V. And it's going to be priced at least $3,500, and my guess is it's going to be like $3,995. Everything is going up. Hey, the A7 IV is $2,500 right now, and that's what it was released at. So from the A7 III, that went up $500. I'm expecting the same from the A7 V. And the last rumor is saying October 2022 for the release, which also makes sense, but obviously that is subject to the global supply insanity that has gripped our great world. Okay. I think this camera is going to be one of those things I'd like to have, but I don't really need to have. The A7R IV is doing everything I need it to do. I do prefer the A7 IV as a general all-around camera. The A7 IV is my EDC camera. The A7R IV is more of a specialist camera that I throw in the bag when I expect to do some heavy-duty still photography. So if I'm doing photography specifically, the A7R IV is the camera that I add to the A7 IV kit to get use of the high-resolution sensor. And in that capacity, the A7R IV is spectacular. So when I need the ultimate still image quality, none of the shortcomings of the A7R IV get in my way at all. For landscape shooting, the A7R IV is my primary stills camera, and my A7 IV is my everything else and main video camera. It's a fantastic combination, and in that capacity, the A7R IV does a great job. What the A7R IV doesn't do is the everything part as well. And the new rumored improvements to the A7R V, I think, will make it a much better all-rounder like the A7 IV. So there it is. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Please subscribe. That would help me out tremendously, and I would really appreciate it. I shoot Sony and Fuji digital and film in my Intrepid and Zone 6 4x5s and my Pentax 6.7, and I try to share tips and tricks I've learned in a lifetime spent chasing the light and making photographs. Thanks again for watching. Have a great one, and we'll see you out there. Bye.